The Kingdom Come podcast.
I met you, Tito, and obviously you took me by surprise. Now it's like really trendy to talk about how people get red-pilled and they get awakened from the Matrix and stuff. So I'm just curious as to what's the process like for somebody to just have a switch in their worldview.
You know what? To be honest with you, there is no switch in my worldview. My worldview has not changed. That party changed. I was just
Maybe
unwilling to change with them, if that makes any sense.
That does make sense.
See, the thing is I grew up in Detroit in the hip-hop world and doing all of that and writing songs. I could say songs right now that's basically the same way that I feel 20 years ago
and nothing
that I
changed.
feel right now. Nothing changed.
By the way, I saw your documentary. It was awesome.
Thank you.
It was well produced.
I think that was my boy John Renaud. He's a director out of
Dude, that was good, man.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to derail, but I just wanted to let you know I saw that.
But
I'll link that to this just in case somebody wants to see that, if you don't mind.
Okay. I was out in Los Angeles, and I was doing my thing. I didn't believe in the wars. Mainly was thinking about what was going on in the inner city, what was going on in the cities where I came from.
Yeah.
And why is it so hard, and why is it so tough? And back then, you blame the white man for everything. You blame who you're taught to blame. You blame people on the other side for everything.
Yeah, right.
Right? You never stop and think that maybe this might be by design, by the people that supposedly have your back.
Yeah.
I noticed that after a while.
Like when? Do you have a timeline for it, or was there like an event?
When I was out in California, I really never paid attention to that. I was always focused on just change. I wanted to change. That's it. You know what I mean? I don't know who's responsible for it. I think I do because I was told who was responsible, and it's the other people on the other side. They're responsible for it.
This boogeyman.
But the more that I started meeting people from the other side, and that's when I moved out of California. I had to leave LA for any of this awakening to happen. The world that I was in, you're just surrounded by more of the same. You're in the echo chamber.
Right.
You know, but I was always one of those people that was curious. I'm not the person to shut you down in the conversation because
never know.
I love to have conversations. So my wife is out in this area.
But you met her out there?
Yeah, I met her out there. Got pregnant. And it was like, there's no way we can raise a kid out here in California. At the time, we found out Detroit, back in my hometown, they were giving away a lot of incentives for artists and musicians to come to Detroit. So I'm like, wow, this is my hometown. So I'm like, all right, we're going back to Detroit. Within a couple months after us moving there, they ended up cutting it all. It was just, not the place at that time that I wanted to bring them up there either. So I'm like, okay, I came out here. My wife is from here.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So we used to come here and visit her parents and everything. I'm like, wow, this is a little bit more laid back, a little more chill, more family-oriented. This is cool.
Wow, Detroit to Central PA.
From Detroit to Los Angeles, from Los Angeles back to Detroit, from Detroit to out here in central Pennsylvania. So I came here, and the people here, man, was just great.
Yeah?
I never really lived in a small town before. Been everywhere. But I never really had that small town vibe. It was slower, it was chill, everybody was pretty opposite of what I was told. When I tell people that I was a minority, I usually say, man, I am a super minority. Yeah. It's like when I first got here, it's becoming a lot more diverse here.
Yeah.
But when I first got here,
I
would go days, if not weeks, without seeing another black person here.
That's so true.
All right? So I would go
true.
days, and when I did, we acknowledge each other like, what's up? Like this. We don't have to talk. We just do like this.
So much.
You all right? And it was weird because I never felt uncomfortable.
No?
I was pretty much the only black guy around anyway when I was in LA because I hung around in the rock world too. I was one of few people that you would see at that time that would be backstage hanging out with rockers. You will see me hanging out with rappers, and then you'll see me hanging out with a bunch of actors and people in the film world. And they were all so different.
Yeah.
Like totally different worlds.
Yeah.
Because my ex at the time, she was a filmmaker. I was in that whole world with
That
her
says
friends
something
and
about you,
everything.
doesn't it? Because there's a level of like exploration and curiosity, and like not everybody is willing to like step outside of what is normal. There's a lot of the population is not. It plays into where we're going. It plays into your mindset.
Yeah, I never felt as though I had to be anybody else.
That's a freedom. That's a freedom not everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and for some reason I accepted everybody. It boiled down to music. I grew up Motown, Detroit Motown. I just love good music. I love good art.
Yeah.
If it's a good film, I love good film.
That's a great way to say it. That's probably what it is, because art can be the greatest equalizer.
Yeah.
It bridges things. That's one of my favorite things about it.
Right.
So anyway.
So going into these different worlds and respecting people's talents and their passions, and I got a chance to like peek into these different realities and these different worlds.
Perspectives on things.
Perspectives, right. But the thing at the core, I realized that we were all the same.
Yeah. Way more than we're different.
Yeah. Being able to transition to all these different places and always being open for a different, to turn the chapter. You're open to change. You're open to possibilities or what's next.
I wonder what the percentage of the population is that has that kind of mindset. Because that is not...
It's shrinking.
It's shrinking.
Because they're making you scared to be able to think freely like that. It's easier to stamp that label on you. Once they put a label on you, like me when I was a rapper, I was supposed to be a rapper. You're supposed to hang out with the rappers. You're supposed to hang out with rap producers. You're supposed to want to be produced by Dre. You're not supposed to be looking over here hearing that rock song and being like, man, who's the producer of that?
Like creative possibilities when you heard that?
All day.
Yeah, see, that's a cool way to look at it, yeah.
Like I was into mixing and mashing. I grew up off of Kool-Aid. I wasn't the guy to drink the strawberry Kool-Aid. Just the strawberry. I want to put some lemon in it, and mix the packs. I mixed the packs together and just start.
Yeah, so that's a great analogy for life.
So when I started doing that opened me up to being able to transition a little bit more when I moved to different areas. I met these guys in Kentucky, and they were called the Villbillies.
Villbillies.
They were a Southern country style rap group.
Like throwing some country at it?
Some bluegrass type of. They're really good.
I want to hear this. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to hang out with them all the time, and I went to their houses, and this was the first time I went to the hood there. They lived in a hood there. It wasn't a lot of black people. It was a lot of white people there in the hood. This was their hood. But I walked through the door. One of them had the screen door, had the screen off and everything, and they were living like we were living in Detroit. Exactly like we were living. Party better than us, though. They had more fun than we did. There was no shooting and killing, none of that stuff going on at the time. They would get into some crazy fights and stuff because it was just like wild. But at the time, I was like, my God.
There's a similarity here.
There's a real similarity there. And they became like my brothers. That's when I realized that this thing we're so similar.
Yeah. And
it's these small differences. And it changed my way of thinking and my outlook on the world, just like in the world in general. Don't assume just because somebody has this skin color or that skin that they have some type of privilege or their life is so much better than yours or so much different, because that was when I was living out in California at the time in LA, and I would be around black folks that was considered black royalty. So you got these white guys living in like we are in a hood of Detroit. Then you got black folks out there, Marvin Gaye Jr.'s house or something like that.
Yeah.
Living in mansions and having these living it up. Class and race totally disappeared.
Yeah.
That's what I mean?
That's an epiphany.
Yeah.
The narrative starts to fray.
You can easily get sucked back in if you...
Explain that to me.
People that's caught up in the matrix themselves, right? They could pull you back in. And I think that this is the job of the media. I saw it like trickling in Hollywood.
When you were there?
Yeah. Especially when I left Hollywood. See, this is the whole thing. When I left Hollywood, I was able to look back on things.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the midst of it,
take a perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
You never do. Being inside of a different world, especially around people that I were told were monsters. I tell you like this, when I first came out here, I was still dialed in to that out there. You start seeing little things. And you see things a little more clearly. So I was still watching Rachel Maddow. I was still watching all of that crap. And one day, and this was, I think it was the Trayvon Martin situation. It might not have been Trayvon Martin. It could have been Mike Brown. Mike Brown. One of them. When that happened, I was really pissed off. You know, I was questioning everything. I'm like, man, I'm sitting up in here. I'm not in the hood anymore. I'm surrounded by all of these cops that want to kill me. Somehow it dragged me back into this world and this energy that was just terrible and had me feeling like that was happening to me, like every day, even though, you know, that wasn't happening here. You know, it wasn't. Cops would ride past and just waving. We waving. I never experienced that, but it like kind of sucked me back into like that energy of feeling like I was back in the city and, you know, like fearing for my life.
Right.
I saw some things, you know, made me question things. I saw a video come out of Mike Brown at a store right before that, and he looked totally different than what I was looking at on the news. And I'm like, is that him?
I remember that video.
This dude is huge, and he's grabbing a guy up at a convenience store. And I'm like, why are they lying to me? Why are you lying to me? I got pulled over for something, I think my tags or something, and I was so like upset because I'm like, oh, they just messing with me because I'm black, this and that in my mind.
Yeah.
But the cop came up, he was just real chill and cool. He was like, hey, you know, that this and that with your tags, you should probably get that done. Didn't write me a ticket, didn't do nothing, but I was wrong, and I didn't know. I thought my wife had got these things fixed, and I'm not from here. I didn't know that you had to get these things done like every year or registered every year.
PA,
So I'm like, oh my gosh. So that had me in the mindset, and to come to find out that I was being somewhat manipulated on the facts a little bit.
Yeah.
Showed me a little bit that they were playing with my emotions, and not only just playing with my emotions, they was altering my perceptions and even the way I reacted and my behavior. Wow. See what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to take a real hard look at things.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
Are you manipulating me on? What else are you giving me a half truth on? Or a quarter truth on, using the rest to manipulate me into doing, that's mind control.
Right.
Oh, that's mind control.
Right.
That was the first start to my awakening process on everything. I really never changed my perception of the people that delivering the messages to me. My perception of them changed.
Yes.
But my feel for
the powerful lording over the weak.
Yeah, right. All of that. But who's at fault too?
Right.
That also changed.
You have, like, every time I talk to you, you have solutions to problems that I had never heard of before. And you know why I never heard of them before? Because you're thinking them. Like, that's what that teaches me. They're depriving us of our God-given ability to create solutions for the problems that face us with our friendships, our community, rather than inheriting this quasi solution that they give us. That's really just me and you have both figured out. That's just meant to empower them.
Yeah.
That's just meant to put us at war with our neighbor for some reason so they can sleek around in the shadows.
Why would they fix a problem? It kind of reminds me of the mechanic back in Detroit, right? We call them base mechanics, right? Why would they fix your car? While they was fixing your car, they'll do something and take a spark and loosen the spark plug. You know what's going to happen?
That's a good analogy.
You're going to come back. You're constantly paying them.
Right. You see what I mean? Why would you fix the problem and lose your customers? We're their customers. Boy, that sounds an awful lot like the medical system right now.
Exactly. Yeah, right. It is, right?
It is. It's just
they don't fix anything. They don't cure anything. They just it's maintenance.
It's maintenance, or they can sell you some pill.
For the rest of your life.
You go out to eat, you see older Americans open up that plastic container, and it is just pills as far as the eye can see. That's the medical system.
And they're still walking around with the same disease or ailment. They don't fix anything.
Snake oil, baby.
Exactly.
You mentioned the Brown thing was like an awakening, and for me, This is the time when they wanted Bush to rise to the top of the GOP field. And I saw them with my own eyes bust in what can only be described as hired guns. Because they come in these like big tourists. They get out. They move them up to the front. The cameras are all on them. They shoot that crap all over America, like to my parents, right? And they see the flags waving, and they think to themselves, Jeb Bush has got a lot of momentum going on.
Yeah.
But it's all fake. So anyway, me and my 3 friends, man, we're never the same after that. Like the machine just unplugged, and now I was like, all of you fools are lying to me. Like every one of you. I mean, I have my preferences in policy. I have my preferences in how to organize society and allocate resources, as do you.
Right.
But these cats, they're just moving me around like a pawn. That's what they're doing.
Right.
And all these people at home sitting and watching that TV, that's pageantry.
Exactly.
That's bread and circuses.
That's what people don't get. Once you done been behind the scenes, whether it's radio or television, and you understand how production works. When I did my first film, you have this square. You know, this is why people walk around, they do this. That within that square, that's all you're going to see.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
That's it. Don't see anything that's going on around, and they don't understand that there's a whole nother world that's going on, and what you see is what they want you to see. There's different levels to this game. So once you just saw that, you understand that all of this is framed. Once you understand that, and that's what I have to always go back to. Like I said, I got caught up in it, but then I had to think about my past, you know, and seeing celebrities that you think are like 6 feet tall, and you walk past them, they like this big. You like,
yes, that's a great example.
Are you like a super action hero? Oh, because we shoot the angle, and then you just hire a bunch of shorter actors. Oh,
that's so true.
Hollywood can produce magic. They create magic. Those same producers move on to do the news.
Yes, they do.
You know, so
they spin yarns.
Exactly. So you get manipulated in so many different ways, and it's hard to decipher.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
You know, even for people that's been behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Our people don't have a chance.
Now, let me ask you a question, because it does appear so obvious to us. Obviously, we're in like mind, but they still wield this power. They'll hit a couple trigger issues for me. They'll hit my nerve endings.
Right.
I don't know. It could be my childhood. It could be some experience I had.
Right.
Something makes this hot for me. And they hit me with that propaganda, and they get my head all spinning around, and then I start finding villains. Right. I start shadowboxing. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, who I end up shadowboxing with is just my neighbor, who the difference between me and this guy, barely noticeable. Yeah. He's getting up at the same time in the morning as me. He's mowing his lawn like me. We're not each other's enemy. Right. You know what I mean? But they get us. They get us back into the matrix, like you were saying. I think more and more Americans are awakened to this. So now it's getting more and more cunning and more vicious. And obviously that's where all the censorship comes in. They've shut you down. I mean,
they shut me down.
I mean, I followed you all through the pandemic. I followed you all through the last election. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that were following you.
Yeah.
And just to watch it go down, like when you break stride from the framework that you were just talking about, that shot, it's almost like the algorithm says, and they just, now somehow they've normalized that.
They think it should shut you down.
I don't understand how they were able to do that. It had something to do with fear. It really took hold during COVID when they had everybody on tilt. Like, everybody's going to die. Your grandmother's is going to die. You're going to die. Your pets are going to die.
They did it out of fear, man.
It was fear.
It was fear. And they understand that we have these built-in mechanisms in our humanity and human beings in general. You either fight or flight. Some of us going to sit back and we're going to fight. I've always been the person that I'm going to sit there and fight you.
Yeah.
When I was in my music stuff, everybody's like, you know what? You got to do music this way. I was like, no, I'm going to do it that way. You can't do that.
No, they will not tolerate that.
They won't allow that.
They won't allow that.
Some of my friends and people that I know is just like, especially artists.
Right. What's your explanation for that?
That's the most mind-blown, especially hip-hop artists on top of that. You had Tupac, you had all of these people back in the day that was just like,
Tupac was free thinking.
Right. Shut them down, but when it was the right shutting down the left, when the left is shutting down the right, you can't be for free speech free speech. Oh, speak freely as long as you're saying how I feel and what I think.
How did we lose this? I swear to you, it wasn't a lost concept when I was growing up.
Debates were good. I mean, we used to debate.
Yeah, all
everything.
the time. When I was a kid, teenager. And the weird thing was, my circle of friends, that was like how you figured stuff out. That was how
college.
Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it.
But wasn't that one of the biggest things in like college though? It was like you debated situations, you talked it out, you talked about. Now you can't have a different opinion on a college campus.
Yeah,
they'll shut you down.
They'll shut you down.
They have people scared to say men can't have babies.
I know, Tito.
To even think that. They have people saying that people are going to look at you or look at me like we're terrible people if we feel as though there's a difference between a man and a woman.
Yes. They got you now.
Scared.
Saying that under your breath.
Under your breath.
Like, there's gravity. There's a thing called gravity, Tito. Don't tell anybody else I think so.
Right.
That's where we are.
My whole world, like just saying that, they could take your whole world and paint you to everybody like you should lose your job.
Yeah.
You're a villain.
Yeah.
You're a bad person. You see people out there, what's crazy is you'll see people out there that spend the majority of their lives helping others. But if they make a comment like that.
Yes. No moral bank account.
Hang them up.
Right.
That's
terrifying.
Mind control.
Terrifying.
That's terrifying mind control.
We were having this great conversation at a local pub, and you mentioned to me that you're more optimistic. You think people are awakened to this.
I do. I really do.
And you think that it's a massive amount of people.
I think it's you know what? If it wasn't, there would be no need to censor anybody, would it?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Not many people believe in Bigfoot. That's why they don't censor you for posting stuff about Bigfoot. You see what I mean? You don't see people out there that, you know what? You can post whatever.
Right, you can post the craziest
Why are they
nonsense.
so scared of the Elon Musk getting Twitter right now? They're scared that people are teetering like right there. They're that close.
Yes.
That a post, you can't even tweet what you want to tweet. One story from the wrong paper at the right time will awaken people. That's how close it is. That's why they have to censor. That's why they got to throw a poison pill on a Twitter deal.
I mean, incredible to watch
that. It's that close.
Yeah.
It's razor thin.
That company has decided to slit its own throat in a pool of its own blood rather than allow people to speak their mind.
Do you do that if you're the majority?
Right.
If you're the majority,
right.
You're not worried about lions don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep.
Yeah, right. That's great.
They're losing a lot of sleep. They went too far. They went too far. You know how Thanos say there has to be balance?
Yeah,
in the universe?
Right.
If you tip it, you ever seen that? You seen when he put that little knife on his hand?
Yeah,
and he's like,
right.
There must be balance because if it goes over to one side, it tipped. They went too far.
Right. Right.
They pushed people too far. I'm watching television. I'm looking at this stuff. I'm looking at their movies. I'm looking at everything. And I'm just like, the indoctrination of this and the agendas that they're putting in there. They're forcing it down your throat.
Yeah.
It's not even like subtle.
It's not artful. It's not creative.
Right. It's not even, it's like they're pushing and shoving things down your throat, not just yours, but your kids. And I think that a lot of these people feel as though it's on them to change us or change society.
I think that's it.
Now, I don't care what you choose to do. I'm not God. All right?
Yeah.
So I can't judge you.
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm libertarian.
I'm like,
but that has to go two ways. That's
exactly.
That has to go two ways.
Exactly. But they choose to take that moral ground and say, hey, we're going to do something about it. You're not smart enough to make your own decisions.
That's right.
We're going to change you. And not only that, we're going to indoctrinate and train your kids because we don't trust you enough to raise decent human beings.
That's exactly what it is.
So we're going to train your kids for you. And when they did that, see, you can mess with us all you want to. But when you come from my kids.
Yep. That's what every American is thinking. That's a line.
Yeah.
What are they thinking doing that? Like, I can't even make heads or tails of it.
They live in a certain reality. This is what censorship does for you, though. If you're being censored on everything, you're not hearing the people's opinions. No, we're not,
That's
dude.
what it is, Tito. They got blind spots all over the place.
All over the place.
That's got to be it.
That's it. That's it. They're telling them that this is okay.
Everybody's down
with you.
Everybody's down with this.
No, don't worry about them. Those are the minority.
And their Twitter feed is just affirming that because it's all just in lockstep.
Yeah, that's
it's just them.
And it blocks out everybody else. And if one of your friends do skate through on that, then they're the weird ones. They're the crazy ones. They're the bad guys.
That's it.
Because of the algorithms, I don't fit the narrative or the stereotypes. So therefore, you couldn't call me out for being racist.
Right.
This has nothing to do with right, left, whatever. It's just, this makes absolutely no sense to me.
Right.
And the more that I thought about it, the less sense it made.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's
so
where I am.
I was messing with the algorithms, and they just had to get rid of it.
Yep.
For what they talk about now, it's so funny about the Hunter laptop.
Right.
And you just want to know, is this true?
Right.
Dude, is this true?
What's fascinating about that is there seems to be no recourse. Like, for example, as if grown men don't have a memory 6 months old or a year old. Like, we all remember when that story broke, and now it's just like scrubbed.
They keep us in a different crisis.
Yeah,
that's the distraction.
Hyperbole all the time.
We're
Hysterics.
constantly in crises after crises to where you can't stop and say, hold on. Because soon as something starts and they're getting on it, next thing you know, there's a war in Ukraine, and now you should care more about Ukraine than you care about
grocery bill.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the Putin price hike. And I'm like, what? These prices been going up like way before we even heard anything about Ukraine.
It's so that particular one is condescending on another level because we were just at the grocery store prior to this. Yeah. One of the things you said that's really, really interesting, though, and it had me thinking, you said this thing to me when we were hanging out last that I had already been brewing on, but I didn't put words to it the way you did. Be careful of who they're trying to get you to hate right now.
Exactly.
So whatever this is, let's make this real neutral. Whatever political appetite or tribe you feel like you're on the secret handshake society with, they will bring up these supervillains, and they keep them coming. When you actually do the research that they don't want you to do, you figure out this person's threatening power.
Yeah.
Almost always there's exceptions. Sometimes there's silly stuff that means nothing. Yeah, like a Will Smith slap. But I think that they got us like so tribal and fearful. They can bring up supervillains in your mind. Mm-hmm. And all the while, they're reorienting the social fabric of your civilization, the economic fabric of your civilization, the way that your children will be educated. They're moving those chess pieces around, and they got you playing like Uno or something.
You know when the whole Black Lives Matter thing is going on. Now, they know that majority of the people out here that I've met, just period, in this world, period, are genuinely good people.
Right. That's been my experience too.
Generally good people. They're against any form of discrimination. Any form of discrimination, white, black, whatever. But they use that to somehow divide. And if you say, I'm totally for everybody being treated equally, but I am not, I'm totally against you burning down people's houses, going up in people's face, getting violent with everybody, they'll accuse you of being a racist.
Yeah.
And have a privilege. Somebody like me of being a sellout because I'm not on board 100%. See, the thing is I'm not on board 100% with anybody or anything. No. I tell you like this. I love my family. I'm not 100% down with my whole family. Yeah. I got family members that are terrible people.
Right.
That I don't like.
Right.
I don't want to hang out with them. I don't agree with them. So this is what I understand. There are bad people in this world with bad intentions.
That's right.
There are really good people in this world with great intentions.
Yes.
And they all have different jobs. They all have different jobs. Like, some of them can be doctors. They went to make money.
That's right.
They didn't go to save lives.
Right.
They don't care about your life. They just was smart, very smart, and they like a lot of money. You got some that's just like, man,
Saints.
they will do it for free and they will save your
saints.
life, and they're great people.
Right.
Then you got cops that's like, back in Detroit, some of the biggest drug dealers in the city were cops.
Right.
I know this for a fact. Yeah, but then I also know some of the greatest people on this planet.
Right.
That's police officers.
Right. I agree with you.
I back them.
Yes.
Those other dudes,
but if they
are scary.
But that kind of thinking is dangerous, because if you get a whole civilization that start thinking like that, you get a whole civilization that don't need warlords.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We can
Right.
solve our own problems. We can talk to each other.
Yeah.
This idea. No, think about how dangerous that is. That whole scenario you set up for navigating life pretty much eliminates the need for them. You don't need their protection. You don't need them to tell you what to think. You don't need them to tell you how to navigate your society or your community. I learned that a long time ago.
That is kind of scary, isn't it?
Somebody that thinks like that is a really dangerous person.
How do you not think like that?
I don't know, but here's my guess. I think you are dispositionally geared that way, and I know I am. And the reason I know that I am, when I went into the boot camp, I recognized right away the whole point of this is to beat down the civilian in us. So they just got to get this out of us, and they got to build us back up as like these machines, right? And as a side note, I saw that same mentality in COVID. They tried to beat you down and then build you back up as this like drone citizen. So it felt a lot like
you felt like you was being programmed.
Like boot camp.
Right.
Like, because that's what they do to you. They scare you. They move the goalposts. They give you scenarios in which you can't win in.
The thing is, we live in this small town.
It's about as small town as you get, right?
Yeah. But we have a shared reality. We ride the same streets. We've seen the same buildings when we go around.
Yep.
We go shop at the same
We know what went
supermarket.
under. We know what's doing good.
Exactly.
We know
what's going on. When we buy gas, we pay the same exact amount.
Right.
We probably use the same pump today. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So visually, we have a shared reality.
Yes.
Those people don't have a shared reality as us. That's why I think that the most important thing that we can do is, especially politically, deal with it locally.
Yes. Let's just say you didn't particularly like the parents that were going to the school board meetings. Let's just say, but that's not the point. What was inspiring about that is, for the first time ever, for whatever reason, I think it's the parent thing. I think it's what you're talking about, like for the first time. But whatever
those
the reason,
mama bears, man, you don't mess with them.
don't mess up. That's nature, man. We all learned that. Don't mess with the bear.
What are y'all doing?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You're just like, oh my God, are y'all really?
What was
doing
inspiring though is, for the first time, you saw people with skin in the game, and you're right, man. They, just by going to that meeting, they probably met their superintendent, their local representatives. They probably met a couple of their neighbors. That's also dangerous to the powerful. Yeah. You start getting little mini communities that care and are vested and aren't phoning it in and being like apathetic. That'll change the game real quick.
Yeah, and on top of that, these are the people paying them taxes. If you're robbing people,
yeah,
the last thing the thief want to do is for people to start wondering, where my wallet at?
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
What are they doing? Or what are you doing with my money? I would look at it if I was in the hood. And I live out here now, but if I was back in the hood, I'd be like, okay. If I was in Chicago, Detroit, and those cities like that, I'd be like, okay, no. I see on the news every day, 30 people got shot.
Right.
20 people got shot. 60 people over the weekend got shot.
Zero craps given by the media.
Nobody shut the city down.
Right. Oh, that's such a good example.
Nobody's scared to go to, and they didn't shut the, you can't go to work today because you might get shot. You got to wear your bulletproof vest to keep you from getting shot, because these people got shot and they died.
That's a good example.
You see what I mean? They don't shut the cities down because there's crime and murder and death going on.
By a huge, much larger number.
Exactly, by a great number. You've never seen them shut it down to save people's lives.
Boy, I never thought of that before.
Right? Never happened. I'm smart enough to understand that my government is not there to
protect me
or protect me. If we can understand that, then we can understand all of this.
Well said. If you get your head around that, your decisions will naturally change.
I tell people like this. There's a difference between loving your country, love the country. Countrymen, countrywomen,
Yeah.
the military, people that's in there for the right reasons, because everybody's not. Like I said, there's
exactly
people
right.
that's bad and that's good.
I can attest.
But a lot of our countrymen,
It's a great
this
country.
It's a great country.
It's a great country.
The people that govern
Right.
the country, side eye. You can't trust them.
So here's the thing that's interesting about that. It sounds so fatalistic, but the irony is if you wrap your mind around that, then you start solving problems locally and you start investing locally, and that will turn your community and your children and your churches and the places that you live, which is what the country desperately needs. These guys that roll over us, they can't hold a candle to half the people that are just Joe Six-Pack. Like the internet's proven to me the funniest people are just normal dudes. The most creative people, normal dudes. The bravest people, normal dudes. The country's full of really baller people. They just don't live in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Tito, you're a great guy, man.
Hey, man.
I love the way your mind works. You got to come and talk to me again.
I do not have access to my main Facebook account.
I wasn't given an explanation as to what had happened. I was just like, what did I do?
I came to be passionate about free speech and against censorship because as an artist, as an independent artist, I make my living off being able to use my voice to speak to others, whether it's in song or written form, but it's not okay to shut down my voice simply because it's not the same as yours. Simply because they're conservative.
Facebook and YouTube censor people. Run, flee, they're evil.